I was ready to say yes, forever. The white dress hung up. Flowers decorated every corner. 300 guests waiting. But he didn't show up at the altar. Instead, he texted me 2 hours before the ceremony. "You're too big to fit in that dress. I can't marry someone like you." My world crumbled in that second. But what Andrew didn't know was that public humiliation would be the last day he'd see me broken. 6 months later, when he begged me on his knees to come back, I was so different he could barely recognize me. And no, it wasn't because I lost weight. It was because I finally understood something that changed everything. Do you know that moment when you realize the person you loved never truly loved you? I found that out the hard way. My name is Lauren, and on what should have been the happiest day of my life, I learned the most painful lesson anyone can learn: that true love has no conditions, no size, no form. Andrew and I had been together for 4 years. We planned every detail of that wedding. I had daydreamed about that day since I was a child. But 2 hours before the ceremony, while I was adjusting my veil, my phone vibrated. It was a message from him. Just one line that shattered everything. "You're too big to fit in that dress. I can't marry someone like you. I'm sorry." 300 people were waiting at the church. My family, my friends, all dressed up, happy, anxious. And there I was, holding that phone, feeling my heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. What I didn't know in that moment of unbearable pain was that it would be the last time Andrew would see me vulnerable. Because what happened afterward completely changed who I was. Now tell me, what city and country are you watching from? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to know where you're from. I couldn't move. My hands were shaking so hard the phone almost fell to the floor. I read the message again and again, as if the words would change, as if it were some kind of nightmare I would wake up from any second. But I didn't wake up. It was real. Andrew had just canceled our wedding by text message, saying I was too big for the dress. Too big. Those 2 words echoed in my head like a hammer pounding incessantly. My maid of honor, Jennifer, walked into the room at that moment. She looked radiant in the light pink dress we'd chosen together months ago. "Lauren, you look beautiful. Let me help you with the..." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. "What happened? You're pale. Are you feeling unwell?" I couldn't speak. I just handed her the phone. I saw Jennifer's eyes scan the screen, and then she went completely pale too. "That son of a..." she started, but I interrupted her. "Jennifer, what do I do? There are 300 people downstairs waiting. My parents spent all their savings on this wedding. The food, the flowers, the band, everything." My voice came out weak, broken. I could barely breathe. Jennifer hugged me tightly. "Breathe, Lauren. We're going to figure this out together, okay? First, you need to sit down." But how could I sit? How could I do anything when my world had just collapsed? I started pacing back and forth in the room, my head spinning with 1,000 thoughts at once. How could Andrew do this to me? 4 years together. 4 years of promises, plans, shared dreams. And he simply threw it all away because of my body. Because of a few extra pounds I'd gained in the last few months of stress with the wedding preparations. "I need to talk to him," I said suddenly. "I need to understand. This doesn't make sense, Jennifer. Last night he told me he loved me. Yesterday. How can he wake up today and decide he doesn't want to marry me anymore?" I tried calling Andrew. Once, twice, 3 times. All the calls went straight to voicemail. He had turned off his phone, or blocked my number. I started sending messages, one after another. "Andrew, please answer. We can talk. If you're scared, we can postpone the wedding, no problem. But don't do this to me. Not today. Not like this. Nothing. Total silence." My mother knocked on the door. "Lauren, darling, it's almost time. The car is waiting to take you to church." When she came in and saw my face and Jennifer's, she knew immediately that something was very wrong. "What happened?" Jennifer showed her the message. I watched my mother read it, and then her hands started trembling too. That boy. That cowardly boy. She pulled me into a hug. My daughter. My little girl. I'm so sorry, so sorry. Mom, what do I do? How do I tell everyone there's not going to be a wedding? How do I look 300 people in the face and say the groom thinks I'm too fat? My mother cupped my face in her hands. You're not going to say any of that. You're going to stay here, and I'll go downstairs and sort this out. Nobody needs to know the details. I'll say there was an emergency and the wedding is canceled. But people will ask. They'll want to know what happened. And I'll deal with it. You're already dealing with too much. While my mother went out to give the news to the guests, I collapsed to the floor. I was still wearing that beautiful white dress I had chosen with so much care. It had taken me months to find the perfect dress. I tried on dozens of them, and when I found this one, I felt like the most beautiful woman in the world. Andrew was with me that day. He had tears in his eyes when he saw me in my wedding dress for the first time. You look perfect, he said. I can't wait to see you like this on our special day. Lies. It was all a lie. Jennifer sat down on the floor next to me. Do you want to take off your dress? No, I replied. Not yet. I just need a minute. But 1 minute turned into 10, and then 20. I could hear the noise downstairs. Confused voices, some people crying, my family trying to explain the inexplicable. And there I was, alone in that room, feeling like the most pathetic person in the world. The worst part wasn't even the canceled wedding. It was the reason. Andrew didn't cancel because he discovered he didn't love me. You didn't cancel because you met someone else. He canceled because my body wasn't good enough for him. Because I had gained 5 or 6 kilos in the last few months. Because the stress of the wedding preparations made me eat more, sleep less, take less care of myself. And now I was paying the price. Lauren, Jennifer said softly, I know it's awful right now, but you need to hear what I'm going to tell you. Andrew doesn't deserve you. He never did. A man who truly loves you doesn't do this. No matter what happens, no matter how you feel, true love is unconditional. I wanted to believe her, but at that moment, all I could feel was pain. A deep pain that seemed to have roots in my chest and was spreading to every part of my body. I was sure I would never recover from this, that this wound would remain open forever. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't imagine in that moment of absolute darkness, was that this pain would transform into something completely different, something that would make me stronger than I had ever been, because sometimes we need to be completely destroyed in order to rebuild ourselves in the right way. And my reconstruction was only just beginning. Now I want to ask you, the viewer, a question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone judged you by your appearance? How did you deal with it? Leave a comment below. I really want to know your story. And if you're enjoying this story and want to see more content like this, don't forget to click subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Your participation here is very important to me. The days following the canceled wedding were the hardest of my life. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't eat. I could barely sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Andrew's message on my phone screen. You're too big to fit into that dress. Those words kept playing in my head, like a bad song you can't get out of your mind. My mother tried to cheer me up. She brought food to my room, opened the curtains to let the sun in, told me funny stories, but nothing worked. I was stuck in that horrible moment, reliving it 1,000 times a day. Jennifer called all the time. Lauren, you need to get out of the house. Just a quick walk. It'll do you good. I can't, I always replied. What if I run into someone who was at the wedding? I can't bear to see pity in people's eyes, because that was what hurt the most. The pity. Everyone in town knew what had happened. Even though my mother hadn't told them the details, people found out. Somehow, everyone knew I'd been rejected at the altar because of my weight. A week after the wedding that never happened, my neighbor knocked on the door. It was Mrs. Patricia, a woman in her 60s who lived next door. She brought an apple pie. I heard what happened. Dear, I came to keep you company. Normally I would have made up an excuse and sent her away, but there was something about her, a genuine kindness, that made me let her in. We sat down in the living room, and she cut 2 slices of the pie. "You know," Patricia began, "I was also left at the altar once." I looked at her in surprise. Seriously. Seriously. I was 23 years old. I was engaged to a guy named Thomas. But a week before the wedding, he disappeared. He left a letter saying he had met someone else. "Oh, Patricia, I'm so sorry." "There's no need to feel that way." Because 6 months later, I met William, my late husband, and he was the love of my life. If I had married Thomas, I would never have met William. Sometimes the bad things that happen to us are actually the universe protecting us from something worse. I wanted to believe her, but at that moment it seemed impossible that anything good could come out of that situation. "Patricia, the problem isn't just that he left me. It's the reason. He thought I was too fat. How do I get over this?" Patricia held my hand. "You overcome this by understanding one very important thing. The problem was never you. It was always him. A man who judges you by your body is not a man who loves you. He is a superficial and immature man." She was right. Deep down, I knew she was right. But knowing didn't make things any easier. The pain was still there, throbbing, constant. After Patricia left, I kept thinking about what she said. I started remembering all the times Andrew had made comments about my body. They were small, subtle things that I ignored at the time. "Are you going to eat all that?" When I grabbed a second slice of pizza. "Those pants are a little tight, aren't they?" When I was getting ready to go out. "You should go back to the gym. You looked so beautiful when you worked out every day." At the time, I thought he was helping me. But now I see clearly. He was controlling me, molding me to be the woman he wanted me to be, not the woman I was. And you know what was saddest? I was letting him. I was changing who I was to please him. I stopped eating the things I liked. I started doing crazy diets. I weighed myself every day and freaked out if the number on the scale went up. My whole life revolved around being thin enough for Andrew. But it wasn't anymore. Because Andrew was gone. And now I had to figure out who Lauren was without him. The next day, I finally got out of bed. I took a long shower. I brushed my hair. I put on clean clothes. They were small things. But for me at that moment, they were huge victories. Jennifer was so happy when I sent her a picture. "You look beautiful. Let's have lunch together." "I'm not ready to leave yet," I replied. "But thank you for being here with me." I sat on the sofa and opened my laptop. I had hundreds of messages from friends and family. Messages of support, of affection, of anger directed at Andrew. But there was one message that caught my attention. It was from my former boss, Nancy, from the company where I had worked before quitting to plan my wedding. "Lauren, I heard what happened. I'm truly sorry. But I want you to know that your position here is still open if you want to come back. You were one of the best professionals we've ever had." I had completely forgotten about work. I had quit my job 3 months ago because Andrew and I were moving to another city after our wedding. He had gotten a better job there, and I had agreed to leave everything behind and go with him. Once again, shaping my life around him. But now there was no more marriage. There was no more moving. And I no longer had a job. I stared at Nancy's message for a long time. Going back to work meant leaving home. It meant facing people. It meant rebuilding my life. And I was scared. Very scared. But at the same time, there was a little voice inside me telling me that I needed to do this. That staying home and feeling sorry for myself wasn't going to change anything. That the only person who could pull me out of that hole was myself. Then I did something that surprised me. I replied to Nancy's message. "Hi, Nancy. Thanks for the message. I'd love to come back. When can I start?" Her reply came in less than 5 minutes. "How about Monday? We're having a team meeting and it would be perfect to have you there." Monday. That gave me 4 days to prepare mentally. 4 days to gather courage. 4 days to decide that I wasn't going to let Andrew completely destroy my life. I got up from the sofa and went to the mirror. I looked at my reflection. Really, at my reflection. Not just a quick glance like I'd been doing. I saw a tired woman. A hurt woman. But I also saw a woman who was still standing. who was still breathing, who still had a whole life ahead of her. "You'll get through this," I told my reflection. "I don't know how yet. I don't know how long it will take, but you will." And at that moment, for the first time since the day of the canceled wedding, I felt a tiny thing inside my chest. It wasn't happiness. It was still far from being happiness, but it was hope. A small, fragile, but real hope. I didn't yet know that this hope would transform into the greatest revolution of my life, that in the coming months I would discover myself in ways I never imagined, and that Andrew would deeply regret letting me go. But all of that was still to come. For now, I just needed to take one step at a time, and the first step was Monday. Monday arrived far too quickly. I woke up with my heart racing and my stomach churning. I stood in front of the closet for about 20 minutes trying to decide what to wear. Everything seemed wrong. Everything seemed too tight. Everything reminded me of Andrew's comments. Finally, I chose black pants and a simple blue blouse. Nothing flashy, nothing that would make people stare at me. I tied my hair in a ponytail, put on some lipstick, and left the house before I could change my mind. The office was a 20-minute drive away. 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. My mind kept creating horrible scenarios. What if everyone looked at me with pity? What if someone asked questions about the wedding? What if I couldn't hold back the tears? When I arrived, I took 3 deep breaths before getting out of the car. "You can do this," I murmured to myself. "It's just one day at a time." The receptionist greeted me with a genuine smile. "Lauren, it's so good to see you back." There was no pity in her eyes, only true joy. That gave me a little courage. Nancy was in the meeting room preparing the presentation. When she saw me, she came running and hugged me tightly. "Thank you for coming back. I know it's not easy, but you'll see that working will do you good." The meeting started and I tried to concentrate. Nancy was presenting a new project, something about expanding our services to other cities. But my mind kept wandering. I kept thinking about how quickly my life had changed. Just a month ago, I was planning a wedding. Now I was going back to a job I had left. But you know what was strange? As the meeting went on, I started to get genuinely interested. The project was challenging. It was going to require creativity, hard work, and dedication. And for the first time in weeks, I felt my brain wake up. I felt that urge to create something, to do something important. At the end of the meeting, Nancy called me aside for a private chat. "Lauren, I have a proposal. This new project needs someone to lead it, someone creative, organized, who can work under pressure. And I thought of you." I was shocked. "But Nancy, I just got back. There are people here who have been here much longer." "Yes, there are, but none with your talent. I know you're going through a difficult time, but I also know you're one of the most competent professionals who have ever worked here. Think about it carefully, okay?" I returned to my desk with my head spinning, leading a large project. Me, the woman who a week ago couldn't even get out of bed. It seemed impossible, but at the same time, it felt exactly what I needed: a distraction, a purpose, something to remind me that I was more than just the rejected bride. During lunch, I went to eat alone at a cafe near the office. I ordered a sandwich and sat at a table in the corner. While I ate, I started thinking about Nancy's proposal, about what saying yes would mean. It would mean commitment. It would mean throwing myself headlong into something new. It would mean betting on myself. And you know what I realized? That it had been a long time since I'd believed in myself. For a long time, all my decisions had been based on Andrew. On what he wanted, on what he thought was best, on what he approved. But Andrew had left, and now it was just me left. I picked up my phone and texted Nancy. "I accept the project. When do we start?" The answer came almost instantly. "Tomorrow. Get ready. It's going to be intense." I smiled for the first time in weeks. A small smile, but a real one. Because in that moment, I understood something important. The pain Andrew caused would always be a part of my story. But it wouldn't define my future. I would define my future. and that future was only beginning to take shape. The first few days leading the project were complete chaos. I was rusty, out of sync, trying to remember processes I'd forgotten during the months I was away. But you know what was amazing? I loved every second of that chaos. Nancy gave me a team of 5 people to work with me. There was Daniel, a very talented graphic designer. Michelle, a digital marketing specialist. Robert, who took care of the financial side. Rebecca, who understood everything about logistics. And Matthew, a brilliant programmer who could solve any technical problem. At first, they were a little suspicious. After all, I had disappeared for months, and now I was returning straight to a leadership position. I could see it in their eyes. Does she really know what she's doing? But I was determined to prove it. I arrived at the office every day at 7 in the morning. I stayed late studying every detail of the project. I asked questions, researched, learned, and little by little, the team began to respect me. Not because I was the boss, but because I was truly committed. A week after we started, we had our first brainstorming meeting. I was nervous. Very nervous. It was my chance to show that I had good ideas, that I could really contribute. Okay, everyone, I began. We need to think outside the box. Our competitors are doing everything the same. We need to do things differently. Daniel raised his hand. What kind of different? That's different. Let's think. What if, instead of just selling our services, we created a community, a place where our clients could connect, share experiences, and learn from each other? Michelle's eyes lit up, like an online platform. With forums, videos, live workshops? Exactly. We wouldn't just be another company offering services. We would be a movement, a community of people wanting to grow together. The room was silent for a few seconds. I thought they hated the idea. But then Robert started clapping slowly. That's brilliant, Lauren. Seriously, that's exactly the kind of differentiation we need. In the following days, we worked non-stop developing this idea. I barely had time to think about Andrew. I barely had time to feel sad. My brain was too busy creating, planning, building something from scratch. And you know what was the coolest part? I discovered I was good at it. Really good. I had creative ideas that surprised even myself. I could solve complex problems in simple ways. He knew how to motivate the team during difficult times. Jennifer noticed the change. Lauren, you look different. You're glowing. I'm feeling useful for the first time in a long time, I replied. I'm creating something that's mine. It's not about pleasing anyone. It's about doing the best job possible. A month after starting the project, Nancy called me into her office. I need to show you something. She opened her laptop and showed me the numbers. The project was going better than anyone had expected. Sales had increased by 30%. Customers were loving the new approach. Lauren, you're doing an exceptional job. So good that the board wants to promote you. I almost fell out of my chair. Promote? To what position? Innovation manager. You would oversee all of the company's new projects. You would have complete autonomy to create, experiment, and take risks. And of course, a very significant salary increase. I couldn't believe it. 2 months ago I was on the floor, devastated, thinking my life was over. And now I was being promoted to a position I never imagined I could reach. I accept, I said without thinking twice. When do I start? It's already started. As of today, you are officially our innovation manager. When I left Nancy's office, I wanted to call someone and celebrate. My first instinct was to pick up the phone and call Andrew, because for 4 years, he was the first person I called with any news. Good or bad, he was always the first to know. But I stopped with my finger on his number, and then I deleted the contact. Because Andrew didn't deserve to know about my victories. He was no longer part of my life, and this achievement was mine alone. I called Jennifer. Guess who just got promoted? She yelled so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Lauren, I'm so proud of you. We need to celebrate. Tonight, no excuses. And for the first time since the canceled wedding, I went out to celebrate. Jennifer took me to an Italian restaurant I loved. We ate pasta, drank wine, laughed until our stomachs hurt, and I felt alive again, completely alive. On the way home, I looked out the car window and saw my reflection in the glass. And you know what I saw? A strong woman, a capable woman, a woman who had taken the worst situation of her life and turned it into fuel to grow. I still had difficult days. I still had moments when the pain returned. But now I had something I didn't have before. Purpose. I had a job I loved, a team that respected me, a future that I myself was building. And most importantly, I had proven to myself that I didn't need Andrew to be successful, that I didn't need anyone validating me to have value, that I was always enough, I was always capable, I was always deserving of good things. I was just looking at the wrong people, hoping they would see it. But now I could see, and that was all that mattered. With the promotion, my routine changed completely. I was participating in meetings with directors, making important decisions, presenting ideas to people I used to admire from afar, and the most incredible thing, I was killing it. But it wasn't just my job that was changing. It was me. Every day I woke up a little more confident, a little more sure of who I was, and people noticed. Colleagues who barely spoke to me before now came to ask for advice. They wanted to know how I had managed to reinvent myself so quickly. The truth is, it wasn't quick. It was painful. It was a process of deconstructing everything I thought I knew about myself and rebuilding it from scratch. But it was worth every second of pain. One afternoon, I was in the company cafeteria when a woman I had never seen before sat down at my table. She was about 40 years old, with short brown hair and a friendly smile. "You're Lauren, right? The new innovation manager?" "Yes, it's me. And you?" "My name is Sarah. I work in the finance department, but I didn't come here to talk about work. I came to talk about something else." She took a deep breath. "I heard what happened to you. About the canceled wedding." My whole body tensed up. I didn't like it when people brought up that subject. "Oh, yes. It was complicated. I can imagine. But do you know why I came to talk to you? Because I went through something similar. 3 years ago, my husband left me. He said I had changed after having children, that my body wasn't the same anymore, that he had lost his attraction." I looked at her in surprise. "I'm sorry, Sarah. You don't need to feel that way, because you know what happened. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to truly look at myself, to stop living to please him and start living for myself. And today I am happier than I have ever been in my entire life. How did you manage to get to this point?" Sarah smiled. "First, I stopped blaming myself. I stopped thinking there was something wrong with me. Because there wasn't. The problem was him. It always had been. Men who truly love you don't abandon you because of your appearance. They love you for who you are inside." We talked for over an hour. Sarah told me about how she had rebuilt her life, how she had gone back to school, made new friends, discovered hobbies she never had time to explore when she was married, and how she had learned to enjoy being alone. "Loneliness and being alone are different things," she explained. "Loneliness is when you miss someone. Being alone is when you are complete on your own. And you'll only be ready for a new relationship when you can be alone without feeling lonely." Those words stayed with me, because I realized I hadn't arrived there yet. There were still nights when I felt alone. There were still moments when I picked up my phone wanting to text Andrew. There was still a part of me that missed him, but it was an increasingly smaller part, and that was progress. On weekends, I started doing things I'd never done before. Jennifer convinced me to take pottery classes. "It'll be therapeutic," she said. And she was right. There was something incredibly relaxing about shaping clay with your hands, about creating something from nothing, about watching a form slowly come to life. I met new people in class, people who knew nothing about my past, who didn't look at me with pity, who only saw who I was now, and that was liberating. One of those people was Ashley. She was 27 years old, a freelance photographer, and had an infectious energy. We connected instantly. "You have a really cool vibe," Ashley told me on our second date. You seem like someone who's been through a lot but came out stronger on the other side." "That's a very accurate description," I laughed. Ashley quickly became a close friend. And it wasn't just her. I was building a network of true friendships. People who genuinely cared about me. Not because I was someone's fiancé or because I fit some mold, but because I was me. One day, Rebecca from work called me over for coffee. "Lauren, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. How did you manage to overcome everything so quickly? Like, you came back here completely broken and now you're leading incredible projects, making new friends, living your best life. What's the secret?" I thought carefully before answering. "There's no secret, Rebecca. It's about choice. Every day I wake up and choose not to let what Andrew did define who I am. I choose to focus on what I can control. I choose to invest in myself. It's not easy. There are days when I just want to stay in bed crying. But I don't let that happen, because I've discovered that I'm too strong to stay still." Rebecca hugged me. "You're an inspiration, you know." Inspiration. No one had ever called me an inspiration before. All my life, I had only been someone's girlfriend, someone's fiancé, always defined by my relationship with another person. But now I was Lauren. Just Lauren. And that was enough. That night, I sat on my apartment balcony with a cup of tea. I looked at the stars and thought about everything that had happened in the last few months. The humiliation on my wedding day. The pain of the following weeks. The decision to go back to work. The promotion. The new friendships. The complete transformation of my life. And you know what I felt? Gratitude. Gratitude for Andrew letting me go. Because if he hadn't done that, I would never have discovered who I really was. I would never have found my strength. I would never have built this incredible life I was living now. He thought he was destroying me. But in reality, he set me free. And I was only beginning to understand how much that freedom was worth. Chapter 6. 3 months after my promotion, Nancy called me into a meeting, but this time it wasn't just her. There were 2 men in suits in the room that I'd never seen before. My heart raced. Had I done something wrong? "Lauren, have a seat," Nancy said with a huge smile. "I want to introduce you to Marcus and Stephen. They're from our headquarters in New York." New York. Why were people from New York here? Marcus was the first to speak. "Lauren, we've been following your work closely. The results you've achieved in such a short time are impressive. We've never seen anyone transform a department so quickly." "Thank you," I replied, still not understanding where this was going. Stephen leaned forward. "Let's get straight to the point. We want to expand the model you created here to all our units in the country, and we want you to lead that expansion." I blinked several times. "Expand?" "To all units. All of them. We're talking about a national project. You would be traveling the country implementing your strategy, training teams, overseeing everything. It's a huge responsibility, but we believe you're the right person." My head was spinning. A national project? Traveling the country? 6 months ago I could barely leave the house, and now they were offering me something this big. "And there's more," Marcus continued. "Guy, the salary would be 3 times what you earn now, plus all the travel and accommodation benefits, and a generous budget to assemble your own team. 3 times my salary. I was going to earn more money than I ever imagined possible. I was going to have a position I never dreamed of achieving. I was going to travel, see new places, do something truly meaningful." "Do I need to think?" I asked. Nancy laughed. "Of course it's necessary. It's a big decision. But don't delay too long. We want to start this project in a month." I left that meeting in complete shock. I called Jennifer immediately. "You won't believe what just happened." I told her everything. The offer, the salary, the incredible opportunity that had fallen into my lap. "Lauren, this is amazing. You're going to accept, right?" I don't know. It's a lot of responsibility. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? Fail? "Lauren, look at everything you've already accomplished. You took the worst situation of your life and turned it into success. If there's anyone who can do that, it's you." But I was still scared of not being good enough, scared of disappointing people, scared of discovering that it had all been luck and not real talent. That night, I talked to Sarah, my friend from the finance department. She had become something of a mentor to me. Do you know what your problem is, Lauren? Sarah said. You still don't fully believe in yourself. You still have that voice of Andrew's in your head telling you that you're not good enough. She was right. I had grown so much, changed so much, but I still had that annoying voice in the back of my mind saying I was a fraud, that I had been lucky, that at some point everyone would find out I didn't know what I was doing. How do I silence that voice? I asked. You don't stay silent. You prove her wrong. You accept this project. You go there and rock it. And every time that voice comes up, you remember everything you've already accomplished. You remember that you deserve to be there. I spent the weekend thinking. I made a list of pros and cons. I talked to my mother, to Jennifer, to Ashley. Everyone said the same thing. I'd be crazy not to accept. But there was one person I hadn't spoken to yet. Patricia, my neighbor who had helped me so much in the beginning. I went to her house on Sunday afternoon. We sat on her porch drinking lemonade. Patricia, do you think I should accept? She looked at me with that wise look of hers. Lauren, you don't need my approval. You don't need anyone's approval. The only question you need to answer is, do you want this? I want to, very much. But I'm afraid. Fear of what? Of failing. Of not being good enough. Of discovering that I don't deserve this opportunity. Patricia held my hand. Honey, let me tell you a secret. Everyone who achieves something great is afraid. The difference between people who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of fear. It's the courage to act even when afraid. Those words changed everything for me. Because she was right. I was never going to stop being afraid. The fear was always going to be there. But I could choose to be bigger than my fear. On Monday morning, I went into Nancy's office. Marcus and Stephen were there too, waiting for my answer. I accept, I said firmly. When do we start? The three smiled. Welcome to the national team, Lauren, Marcus said, extending his hand. As I shook his hand, I felt something shifting inside me. It wasn't just confidence, it was certainty. Certainty that I was on the right track. Certainty that I deserved to be there. Certainty that I was going to do an amazing job. I left that meeting and went straight to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. And you know what I saw? A woman completely different from the one who had been humiliated on her wedding day. A strong, capable woman, deserving of all the good things that were happening. And for the first time since Andrew left me, I didn't feel even a drop of anger towards him. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel resentment. I felt pity. Pity because he had lost the chance to be with someone incredible. Pity because he would never know how much I had grown, how extraordinary I had become. But that pity lasted only a few seconds, because I had more important things to do than think about Andrew. I had an entire country to conquer. The following weeks were complete madness. I was traveling to different cities almost every weekend, meeting teams, presenting my project, training managers. It was exhausting, but at the same time, it was the most exciting thing I had ever done in my life. In Boston, I gave a presentation to 200 people. In Chicago, I implemented the new system in just 3 weeks. In Seattle, I trained a team that was completely demotivated and managed to completely transform their energy. And in every city, I received praise. People would come up to me after meetings, saying how my work had inspired them, how I had given a new purpose to what they did, how I had changed the way they saw their own potential. I was literally changing lives. And in doing so, I kept changing my own. One night, I was in a hotel in Denver when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I normally didn't answer unknown numbers, but something made me pick it up. Hello? Lauren, it's me, Andrew. My heart stopped for a second. Andrew. It had been 5 months since the day of the canceled wedding. 5 months without any contact. And now he was calling. What do you want? My voice came out colder than I expected. I need to talk to you. In person. Please. We have nothing to talk about, Andrew. Please, Lauren. I know I don't deserve it, but I need a chance to explain, to apologize properly. Just give me an hour. Just one. Part of me wanted to hang up on him, but there was another part, a small part, that was curious. Curious to know what he had to say after everything he did. I'm going back to the city on Friday. We can meet at the cafe near my old apartment, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You have half an hour, not an hour. Thank you, Lauren. Seriously, thank you. I hung up the phone and stared at the screen for a long time. Why had I agreed? Why was I giving him the chance he hadn't given me? Jennifer went crazy when I told her. Lauren, you don't owe him anything. Nothing. I know, but maybe I need this. I need to look at him and show him how much I've changed, how much I've grown without him. Just be careful. Men like Andrew are good at manipulating. On Friday, I arrived at the cafe 5 minutes late on purpose. Andrew was already there, sitting at a table in the corner. When he saw me, he stood up immediately. And you know what was shocking? He looked different. He had lost a lot of weight. He had deep dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He looked broken. Lauren, he said, his voice trembling. You look amazing. I sat down in front of him without answering. I just looked, waiting. I don't even know where to begin, he continued. I messed everything up, completely, and not a day goes by that I don't regret it. You called me here to say this, that you regret it. Andrew, you humiliated me on what should have been the happiest day of my life. You left me in front of 300 people because of my weight. What kind of person does that? He lowered his head. A coward. A person who didn't know what he had. Lauren, I was wrong. So wrong. And it took losing you for me to realize it. What happened to you? I asked, not out of pity, but out of genuine curiosity. Everything fell apart. I lost my job 2 weeks after the wedding. My friends stopped talking to me when they found out what I did. My family is ashamed of me. And I realize now that you were the best thing in my life, and I threw it all away because of a stupid obsession with appearance. Do you think I'm going to feel sorry for you? No. I'm not asking for pity. I'm asking for a chance to start over, to do things the right way. I laughed. I really laughed. Andrew, do you really think I'd come back to you? After everything? I know it's hard to believe, but I've changed. I started therapy. I'm working on my problems, and I realized I'll never find anyone like you. You're right. It won't happen. But not because I'm special. It's because you don't deserve someone special. You deserve exactly what you have now. Nothing. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Lauren, please. I love you. No, Andrew. You don't love me. You never loved me. You loved the version of me that you created in your head. The skinny, quiet version that did everything you wanted. But you know what? That Lauren died the day you called off the wedding. And in her place, a much better woman was born. A woman who doesn't need you. But I need you. It's not my problem. I stood up from the chair. You know what's funny, Andrew? I thank you. I thank you for leaving me. Because if you hadn't done that, I would never have discovered how capable I am. I would never have built the incredible life I have now. You thought you were destroying me, but you actually set me free. Lauren, wait. No, your time is up. My half hour with you is over. And so is any chance of you ever being a part of my life again. Have a good life, Andrew. You'll need it. I left that cafe with my head held high. And you know what was most incredible? I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was at peace. Complete peace with everything that had happened. I called Jennifer as soon as I got in the car. How did it go? She asked anxiously. It was liberating. He's devastated, Jennifer. Completely devastated. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're amazing, Lauren. Seriously. As I drove home, I thought about how strange life was. 6 months ago, I was at rock bottom, thinking I'd never get over that pain. And now I was on top, with a brilliant career, true friends, a life I loved, and Andrew. Andrew was exactly where he deserved to be, but I wasn't thinking about him anymore, because I had much better things occupying my mind. I had important meetings the following week. I had projects to develop. I had an incredible life to live, and that's exactly what I was going to do. Now tell me, have you ever had to confront someone who hurt you in the past? What was it like? Leave a comment below. I want to know about your experience. 2 weeks after meeting with Andrew, I was in San Francisco for the final stage of the national project. It was the final presentation, the one that would determine if all my work over the past few months had been worthwhile. The room was packed. There were over 500 people, including all the company directors, important investors, and even the specialized press. I was backstage, reviewing my presentation for the 1,000th time. My hands were sweating. My heart was racing. It was the most important moment of my career. If I nailed it, the doors that would open would be unimaginable. But if I failed, everything I had built could crumble. Jennifer had traveled with me to support me. She came into the dressing room. "How are you?" "Terrified," I admitted. "There are so many people, Jennifer. So much pressure. Remember what you told me when I was afraid to start my own business? You said that fear is just the body preparing to do something great. Today you're going to do something great, Lauren." I took a deep breath. She was right. I had prepared for this moment. I had worked hard, studied every detail, rehearsed 1,000 times. I was ready. Marcus appeared at the door. "Lauren, 3 minutes. Are you ready?" "Ready." When I stepped onto the stage, the lights were so bright I could barely see the audience, but I could feel the energy in the room. Hundreds of eyes were fixed on me, waiting to see what I had to say. "Good morning, everyone," I began, my voice firm, clear, and confident. "My name is Lauren, and for the past 6 months I've had the honor of traveling throughout this country, implementing a project that has changed not only how our company works, but has changed lives, including my own. I spent the next 40 minutes presenting numbers, graphs, and testimonials from people who had been impacted by the project. I showed how productivity had increased by 40%, how employee satisfaction had reached record levels, how the company had saved millions of dollars while providing a better work environment for everyone. And then I got to the most important part, the personal part. "But this project isn't just about numbers," I said, and my voice became softer, more emotional. "It's about transformation. It's about believing we can be better. It's about not letting our past define our future. 7 months ago, I was at the worst point in my life. I had been publicly humiliated. I had lost everything I considered important. Many people in that situation would have given up. They would have remained trapped in pain, anger, and resentment. The room was in absolute silence. Everyone was paying attention to every word. But I made a different choice. I chose to use that pain as fuel. I chose to prove to myself that I was capable of extraordinary things. And today, standing here in front of you, I can say with certainty, I am. But not only me. Each one of you is. Every person in this room has the potential to do incredible things. You just need to believe and have the courage to try. When I finished the presentation, there was a few seconds of silence. And then the whole room erupted in applause. People stood up. Some were crying. Marcus and Stephen came up on stage to hug me. "Lauren, that was extraordinary," Marcus said. "Better than we could have imagined." But the best was yet to come. After the presentation, there was a celebration party. I was talking to some investors when Marcus called me aside to a private corner. Stephen was with him, and there was another woman I didn't know. "Lauren, this is Catherine. She's the CEO of our company." The CEO? I almost choked. Catherine was a legend in the corporate world. One of the most powerful women in the country. "Lauren," Catherine said, extending her hand, "your presentation was the most inspiring thing I've seen in years, and I want to make you a proposal." "A proposal?" "We want to create a new division within the company, a division focused on organizational transformation and human development, and we want you to lead it. as vice president. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Vice president? At 28 years old? You would have complete autonomy, Catherine continued. Your own budget, your own team, freedom to implement your ideas across all of our global operations, not just in the country, but worldwide. Global operations? My voice came out weak. London, Paris, Tokyo, Sydney. You would travel the world doing what you do best, transforming organizations and inspiring people. And of course, the compensation package would be commensurate with the position. We're talking a 6-figure salary, plus bonuses, plus company stock. 6 figures. I was going to earn 6 figures. A girl who 7 months ago was lying broken on her bedroom floor, wearing a wedding dress that would never be worn, was now being offered a vice president position at a multinational company. I accept, I said without hesitating for a second. When do I start? Catherine smiled. How about next month? That gives you time to get organized, assemble your team, and prepare your strategy. When Catherine left, I stood there, trying to process what had just happened. Jennifer ran up to me. From your face, I know something big happened. Tell me. I told her everything. The offer, the position, the salary, the international trips. Jennifer screamed so loudly that everyone at the party looked at us. Lauren, you're vice president. Vice president. That night at the hotel, I couldn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened in the last 7 months. It was as if I had lived several lives in a single year. I picked up my phone and opened my old photos. There was a picture of me and Andrew, taken about 3 months before the wedding. I was smiling in the photo, but now looking at it again, I could see it wasn't a genuine smile. It was a forced, tired smile. The smile of someone who was trying to be happy but wasn't. I deleted the photo. I deleted all the photos with Andrew, not out of anger, not out of hurt, but because that Lauren no longer existed, and I didn't need reminders of who I used to be. I took a selfie. In that photo, my smile was completely different. It was genuine, radiant, free. It was the smile of someone who had found their purpose, of someone who had discovered their power, of someone who was living their best life. I posted the photo with a simple caption. Sometimes you need to lose everything to discover who you really are. Grateful for every fall that made me get up stronger. The comments started pouring in immediately. Hundreds of them. People I had met during my travels. Work colleagues. New and old friends. All saying how I had inspired them. How my story had given them strength to face their own battles. And then I saw a comment that made me stop. It was from Andrew. You've always been amazing. I was just too blind to see it. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. You deserve it. I could have gotten angry. I could have deleted the comment, but I did neither. I just gave it a thumbs up and moved on. Because Andrew no longer had power over me. He no longer occupied space in my mind or my heart. He was just another person from the past. A past that taught me valuable lessons, but that no longer defined my future. I called my mother. Even though it was late, she answered on the first ring. Lauren, is everything all right? Everything's perfect, Mom. I just wanted to tell you that I got promoted. I'm going to be vice president. I heard my mother crying on the other end of the line. My daughter, my little girl. I'm so proud of you. So proud. Thank you for never giving up on me. Not even when I wanted to give up on myself. You never needed me to be strong, Lauren. You always were. You just needed to figure it out on your own. When I hung up, I looked out the hotel window. The city of San Francisco was beautiful at night, all lit up, and I thought, this is my life now. Traveling the world, making a difference, living my dreams. And it all started the day Andrew left me. Funny how life works. The worst day of my life turned into the first day of my real life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. 2 months after my promotion, I was in London for my first international trip as vice president. It was a city I had always dreamed of visiting, but I never imagined it would be for professional reasons. The company had booked an amazing apartment for me in the city center, overlooking the Thames. I was loving every second. The meetings were challenging. The British team was fantastic, and I was learning so much about different work cultures. But the best was yet to come. It was my third day in London when I went to have lunch alone at a small cafe near the office. I ordered a sandwich and sat at a table by the window. I was checking emails on my phone when I heard a voice. "Excuse me, is this seat occupied?" I looked up and saw a man of about 35, with dark brown hair, blue eyes, and a gentle smile. He was wearing a suit but had taken off his tie and was holding a cup of coffee. "No, you can sit down," I replied. "Thank you. This place gets packed at lunchtime." He extended his hand. "I'm Matthew, by the way." "Lauren," I said, shaking his hand. We started talking. I found out that Matthew was an architect, had moved from Chicago to London 3 years ago to work on a big project, and had ended up staying. He had an easy way of talking, as if we were old friends. "And you? What brought you to London?" he asked. "I work. I'm the vice president of a company, and I'm here implementing a new project." "Vice president? Wow, you must be very good at what you do." I smiled. "I try my best." We talked for almost an hour. Matthew was funny, intelligent, and had this calm energy that made me feel comfortable. When I looked at the clock, I realized I was late for my next meeting. "I need to go," I said, standing up. "It was great meeting you, Matthew." "Wait," he said quickly. "I know we just met, but would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? I know an amazing Italian restaurant nearby." I was surprised. It had been so long since someone had asked me out that I didn't even know how to react. But there was something genuine about him, something different. "I would love to," I replied. The next day, Matthew picked me up from the hotel at 7. He was wearing a light blue dress shirt and jeans, casual but stylish. He took me to a small, cozy restaurant in the Notting Hill neighborhood. "How did you find this place?" I asked as we sat down. "I lived in this neighborhood when I moved here. This restaurant saved my life when I didn't know how to cook anything other than instant noodles." We ordered wine and pasta, and the conversation flowed naturally. Matthew told me about growing up in Chicago, about his passion for architecture, about the challenges of adapting to a new culture, and I told him about my professional journey, about how I had arrived where I was. "You're amazing," Matthew said at one point. "The passion in your eyes when you talk about your work is inspiring." "Thank you. But it wasn't always like this. A year ago, I was in a very different place in life. Do you want to talk about it?" And for the first time since it happened, I told the whole story to someone who didn't know me before. I told them about Andrew, about the canceled wedding, about the humiliation and the pain, and about how I had transformed all of that into strength. Matthew listened to me without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a few seconds. "Lauren, can I tell you something? That Andrew was a complete idiot. Any man who judges you by your looks doesn't deserve to be near you. And honestly, he did you a favor, because you're clearly amazing. And if you two had gotten married, you probably never would have found out just how much." Those words touched me in a different way. It wasn't pity. It was genuine admiration, and I realized it had been a long time since someone had looked at me that way. "And you?" I asked. "What's your story?" Matthew smiled. "It's not as dramatic as yours. I had a long relationship that ended 2 years ago. We wanted different things from life. She wanted to go back to the United States. I wanted to stay here. We tried to make it work, but in the end we realized we were forcing something that wasn't natural anymore. Have you gotten over it yet?" "Absolutely. And you know why? Because I learned that it's pointless to try to fit your life into someone else's. You need to find someone who wants to build a life with you, not someone who wants you to give up yours." That made so much sense to me. It was exactly what had happened with Andrew. I was always giving things up, always molding myself to fit into his life. But it was never about building something together. After dinner, Matthew walked me back to the hotel. We strolled slowly through the streets of London, talking about everything and nothing. "I had a lot of fun today," I said when we arrived at the hotel door. "Me too, very much so." He hesitated for a second. "Lauren, How much longer are you going to stay in London? 2 more weeks. Can I see you again? Maybe show you the city. I know some places that the average tourist never discovers. I would love. And we saw each other again, and again, and again. Over the next 10 days, Matthew showed me London in a way I never would have seen on my own. We visited hidden markets, secret parks, old bookstores. We talked for hours about dreams, fears, plans for the future. And at some point during those days, I realized I was falling in love. Not in the desperate, needy way I loved Andrew, but in a healthy, balanced, real way. Matthew saw me exactly as I was and liked me that way. He didn't try to change me. He didn't make comments about my body. He didn't control me. He was simply there, present, genuine, interested. On my last day in London, we went to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the entire city. It was beautiful, the city lights shining like stars. "Lauren," Matthew said, holding my hand, "I know you're going back to the United States tomorrow, and I know we haven't known each other for very long, but I need to tell you something. These days with you have been the best I've had in a long time, and I don't want it to end here." "Me neither," I replied, and it was true. "So we'll find a way. Video calls, trips when possible, whatever it takes. Because you're worth it, Lauren. Very much so." And in that moment, looking at that incredible man who had appeared in my life when I least expected it, I knew I had found something real, something worth fighting for, something I deserved. 6 months after meeting Matthew, my life was better than I ever imagined possible. A long-distance relationship wasn't easy, but it was working. We saw each other at least twice a month, whether he came to the United States or I went to London. And every time we met, it was as if no time had passed at all. But the best news was yet to come. It was a normal Tuesday when Catherine called me into her office. I was expecting another project meeting, more numbers to review, more presentations to prepare. But when I walked into the room, I saw that several important people from the company were there. "Lauren, sit down," Catherine said with a mysterious smile. "We have a proposition for you." My heart raced. Whenever she started like that, it meant something big. As you know, our London operation is growing very rapidly. We need someone strong there, someone who can lead the entire European division, and we all agree that that person is you. I blinked several times. "London? You want me to move to London?" "Exactly. It would be a promotion to executive director of the European region. You would oversee all our operations in Europe, with offices in London, Paris, Berlin, and Madrid. It's a huge challenge, but we know you can do it." London. I was going to live in London, in the same city as Matthew. "And the package?" I asked, trying to remain calm. "Apartment paid for by the company, car, all moving costs covered, and of course, a substantial salary increase. We're talking about doubling what you earn now. Double. My salary was going to double, and I was going to live in the same city as the man I loved." "I accept," I said without hesitation. "When would the change take place?" "In 2 months. That gives you time to organize everything here and prepare for there." When I left the meeting, the first thing I did was call Matthew. He answered on the second ring. "Hi, love. How are you?" "Matthew, are you sitting down?" "Now I am." "Why? Did something happen?" "I'm moving to London. I've been offered a promotion to manage the entire European operation. I'll be living there." Silence on the other end. And then Matthew started shouting. "Seriously? Seriously? Lauren, this is incredible. When? How?" I told him everything. The promotion, the apartment, the plans. And he was as happy as I was. "I can't believe it. We won't have to go months without seeing each other anymore. You'll be here. With me." For the next 2 months, it was a crazy rush. I had to organize my move, pass my current projects on to other people, and attend 1,000 transition meetings. My mother cried when I told her I was moving, but they were tears of pride. My daughter conquering the world. she said, hugging me tightly. I always knew you were special. Jennifer was also emotional, but happy. You deserve all of this, Lauren. Everything and more. On moving day, I looked one last time at my empty apartment. That place had been my refuge during the hardest months. It was there that I cried all my tears. It was there that I began to rebuild myself. And now I was leaving it all behind to start a new chapter. When I arrived in London, Matthew was waiting for me at the airport with a huge bouquet of flowers. He hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Welcome home," he said. Home. London was my home now. The first few months were about adjusting, getting to know the new team, understanding the cultural differences at work, establishing my authority. But I was loving every challenge, and having Matthew there with me made everything so much better. We had dinner together almost every night. I spent the weekends exploring the city. I met his friends, and he met my family when they came to visit me. Our relationship was becoming more and more serious, more solid, more real. One evening, 6 months after my move, Matthew took me to dinner at a fancy restaurant in central London. He was nervous, I could tell. He kept fidgeting with his napkin, looking around, taking deep breaths. "Matthew, is everything all right?" I asked. "Yes. No, I don't know." He laughed nervously. "Lauren, there's something I need to tell you." My heart started beating faster. And from the day I met you at that cafe, my life changed completely. You are the most incredible person I have ever met. You are strong, intelligent, determined, and kind. You inspire me every day to be a better person, and I can't imagine my life without you. He stood up from his chair and knelt down. My heart stopped. "Lauren, will you marry me?" Tears began to fall from my face, but they were tears of pure happiness, tears of gratitude, tears of true love. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I want to." Matthew put the ring on my finger and kissed me. The whole restaurant started applauding. And in that moment, I thought about everything I had gone through to get there. The humiliation, the pain, the rebuilding. Every tear shed, every sleepless night, every moment I wanted to give up but didn't. And I understood that it had all been worth it. Every second of suffering had led me to that perfect moment. I called my mother as soon as we left the restaurant. "Mom, I'm getting married." "Oh, my daughter, I'm so happy for you. That Matthew is a lucky man." "No, Mom, I'm the lucky one. Lucky to have found someone who truly loves me, who truly sees me, who wants to build a life with me, not fit me into his." That night, lying next to Matthew, I looked at the ring on my finger, and I thought of Andrew. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with genuine gratitude. Because if he hadn't left me on that horrible day, I would never have become who I am now. I would never have discovered my strength. I would never have built this incredible life, and I would never have met Matthew. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us are actually the best, because they force us to grow, to change, to become the best version of ourselves. And I had become exactly that, the best version of myself. A version I didn't even know existed until I was forced to discover it. I closed my eyes and smiled, because my story had begun with a cruel rejection, but it was ending with true love, a dream job, a life worth living, and this was more than any happy ending. It was real life, my real life, and it was absolutely perfect. Today, 3 years after that terrible day of the canceled wedding, I look back and see clearly. Andrew didn't destroy me. He freed me. He freed me from a small life, from conditional love, from a version of myself that was never truly me. The pain I felt that day transformed into the greatest blessing of my life. It taught me that my worth never depended on anyone's approval, that I was always enough, that I was always capable of extraordinary things. Sometimes we need to be completely broken to discover how strong we are. And I discovered it. I discovered that I am unbeatable when I decide not to give up on myself. And you? What pain in your life can be transformed into strength? What difficult situation can be the beginning of your best version? Leave it in the comments. I want to know your story. And if this story touched you in any way, if it inspired you or made you reflect, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell for more stories that will make you believe in your own power of transformation.